got this question today. It was on the video about aspect ratio, and he's asking, what would lower thirds be? So let me take you through the process of what I do to create a lower third. I'm actually going to use Canva instead of Photoshop. I feel like it's easier to use and more people have access to Canva than Photoshop. I can do both though. So here we are in Canva and we're going to create our lower thirds. Because we stream horizontally, we are going to want our aspect ratio that we're going to start to create our lower thirds with 1920 by 1080. So let's start there. We're gonna go to create. I like going to custom size, and I'm gonna put the width as 1920 and the height as 1080. And we're going to create a new design. This is what you should get. Very simple. Now, just as an explanation, when you're creating lower thirds, the rule is it needs to be brief, clear, and very legible, easy to read, using simple fonts and colors. And they need to remain on the screen long enough for the viewer to be able to read the information. The idea of a lower third is that the screen is divided into a graph. Like this one. You've got the top, you've got the middle, and you've got the bottom. The bottom is the lower third of the screen. And that's where we want to put our lower thirds. In the lower third. So here we are back in Canva, and I want you to imagine that this graph is here on this screen. Now what's very useful is that Canva has these rulers on either side. Now if you don't see those on your Canva, press Shift and R and it'll activate and deactivate your rulers. So we have 0 through 1,000 right here, approximately. So you want to guess that about 3 and a little bit of those units at the bottom is the lower third. So we're gonna go ahead and add an element. You can add, we're gonna use a rectangle. We're gonna drag it down and stretch it across. This is a lower third. Now, when I'm creating lower thirds, I'm gonna tell you, I like to lift it up a little bit from the bottom like this, because I like to be able to see movement above and below my graphic. Now let's go down to my brand and let's put my logo on there. Let's go to my brand font. Voila. Now to export this with a transparent background, you go to share, download, and you want to make sure that you download a PNG and click this option with a transparent background. Now to make multiple copies of this, like if you wanted to have multiple scriptures, right here you can just duplicate it and it'll duplicate you your lower thirds. And then the operator that you have operating OBS can just turn those on and off and fade them in and out using studio mode with OBS. So to answer your question, I would start with 1920 by 1080 and then use the bottom third of the screen to put your lower thirds in.